To quote Marquez Brownlee, good phones are getting cheap and cheap phones are getting good. Though I would disagree with good phones getting cheap, because in recent years those have gone up in price, I would agree with cheaper phones getting significantly better. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the LG Stylo 4. So this has been my personal driver for several months now, and it's a phone that you can find for sub $200, and it packs more of a punch than I really expected. So I'm Talon, the Tech Merc, and we're going to take a look and start things off with this phone's performance. On purchasing my new phone, the biggest thing I noticed was the all-glass design. I'm coming off of my previous phone being the Galaxy J3 Merc from Samsung. I did a video on that as well. If you guys are interested, it will be in the description below. While the J3 Merc is a solid phone, the design of the Stylo 4 is so much better. It is a thin and light glass sandwich of relative beauty. While it isn't a match for the design of this year's flagships, it definitely feels premium. However, the glass is not all good. For one, it's only for design purposes. The Stylo 4 does not support any form of wireless charging whatsoever out of the box, and the glass on the back is extraordinarily scratchable as well as a complete fingerprint magnet. The first week I spent with my phone was caseless. While it looks very nice, it was scratched to oblivion within that week, making it not look so nice anymore. This also makes a case almost a requirement for this phone. The back is also adorned with a 13 megapixel rear camera capable of 1080p video with a flash under that, and underneath the both of those a fingerprint sensor. The fingerprint sensor is a godsend and probably one of the best upgrades from my previous phone. I love having easy access to my phone regardless of situation. While on the subject of upgrades, upgrading to a 1080 by 2160 resolution bezel reduced screen is a premium feel. The 6.2-inch IPS screen covers 79.8% of the front of the phone and looks good doing it. The brightness can use some work as it is difficult to see in direct sunlight, though this is hardly an issue unique to this phone. The screen being IPS provides great viewing angles and pretty decent colors. Not being some fancy Samsung OLED panel means that there is no risk of burn-in, an issue that has been seen on some high-end phones within recent years. However, I have had one big issue with this screen. While writing the script for this review, ironically enough, I came across an issue where when powering my screen on, it showed a complete black and white static, like old TV look, and kind of freaked me out. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't see anything on my phone. I was able to resolve the issue with a restart. I was not able to capture this on camera, unfortunately, so you'll have to take my word for it. But it was very interesting to see and a little bit unfortunate. But since that power off and restart about a week ago, I haven't had an issue with it yet. And if I do, I will definitely make an update in the description of this video letting you guys know. The performance of the Stylo 4 is nothing amazing. It runs an ARM MT6750V processor, which is one I had never heard of before looking into this phone, and 2 GB of RAM. It also hosts a 3300 mAh battery that gets me most of the way through the day. And for the days that it doesn't, fast charging comes to the rescue. I understand that this is a cheap phone and that they're trying to sell it for a pretty cheap price, but I still would have liked to see 4 GB of RAM to help with stored applications and getting back to them quickly. To test the capability of this phone, I ran the suite of Geekbench tests twice to get a result, and I averaged out those results and compared them against other phones on the market, both on the high-end, mid-end, and some lower-end models. The performance of this guy is nothing to write home about, as I mentioned before. The processor isn't the worst in the world, and I certainly doesn't stack up against flagships this year. And it really isn't supposed to be, which is something that a lot of people kind of take out of context, is that these cheaper phones aren't meant to compete with flagships. Despite what these benchmarks may show, the general performance is fairly good. Load times aren't bad, and I haven't noticed any slowdowns from updates or anything like that. Apple. The performance in games is playable while not amazing. With my time playing Bloons Tower Defense 6, I have noticed some frame rate issues, and that really is an animation-intense game, so I'm not really surprised here. However, there is a cool set of features to help personalize your gaming experience on this phone, as well as a couple other cool software features with this phone, which is what we're going to talk about next. As per usual, LG runs a heavy skin on top of Android, in this case being Android 8.1.0. While I don't really like the look of LG's stock icons, it really isn't that big of a deal, especially because Android allows the use of launchers, which lets you change all of that stuff if you want anyways. With almost any phone, I replace standard apps with Google ones, like Messages, like Photos, things like that. LG does have a few good things about this skin, however, like the aforementioned gaming features. This allows the tweaking of resolution and target frame rates to help improve your game performance. It also gives you the option to block notifications while in game, so those hardcore gamer sessions remain uninterrupted. LG is known for quality control over sound options, which is another feature that I really enjoy. There's an option for what they call DTS:X 3D surround sound to provide a wider soundstage and, in theory, higher quality sound. Personally, I'm not a fan of the surround sound. It makes it kind of sound weird, like you're underwater or something like that. What I do like, however, is being able to control my EQ, tuning it to either a pre-setting or to make a custom one of my own depending on my music taste or whatever I'm listening to, especially because you can save your own profiles, which is a nice feature to see. The software experience overall has been pretty uneventful, and that's kind of a good thing. There hasn't been any groundbreaking things like that, but there also haven't been any really spectacular features, which is something that I'm okay with. It's not that big of a deal for me, as long as I can get what I need done in a fashionable way. This all takes us to the camera. The Stylo 4 sports a 13 megapixel f2.4 rear-facing camera and a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. While not the best on the market, there are some truly amazing shots to be taken with this camera. It struggles very hard with low light situations and handling shots with diverse lighting. It can also be overall difficult to get the perfect focus and settings you want for a picture. Part of this, however, is due to the default camera application, which, if you're interested in it, since it's Android, that is something easy to change. However, the sharpness and detail that can be captured with this phone is a big plus. In situations with optimal lighting, there can be some truly pretty pictures taken by it. Overall, I really enjoy using it. It's not anything world class, but it certainly gets the job done, and with a little bit of class. And I believe the video quality is also very acceptable. If you want a good look at this video quality, you can check out my most recent video, which was filmed entirely on this phone. So that will give you a good look at how the video quality is, as well as the sound quality of the built-in microphone. The camera isn't anything mind-blowing, and it certainly has its weaknesses, but for a sub-$200 phone, it's impressive in its own right. The beauty of camera work is that it doesn't take the best gear to capture the best moments. Now this all leads us to the main gimmick of this phone. As the name would imply, there is an included stylus. It is mounted inside of the phone, note style, and upon removing it, a quick note application appears, allowing you to quickly jot down whatever is on your mind. When purchasing the phone, I thought this would be a feature I rather enjoyed and would use a lot. And I don't think I've ever been more wrong in my life. I hardly ever use the pen for anything besides fiddling around with. I just use it as a fiddle tool. It does offer some cool features, however, like advanced screen capture and even a GIF capture. However, the quality of both of these is pretty lacking. To be honest, there really just isn't anything noteworthy about this pen. Now, this may be something that you are a fan of and would use quite often. I thought I would be, but it turns out I really am not taking advantage of it. And ultimately I could really take it or leave it. It doesn't get in the way of anything, which is nice. And if you want it, it's there. And that's kind of just the beauty of it. You can leave it there if you want. The only time I truly used it was to more accurately place towers in tower defense games. While being a major selling point, there just isn't much of a draw to it for me. I just feel like my experience doesn't really need it. I don't do things that I need a stylus for, and that mostly comes down to how I use my phone and what for. Again, your mileage may vary with this feature. All things considered though, it is something cool to add, and it does offer some cool features and gimmicks. It's just not something that I find very useful, but on the flip side of that, it definitely doesn't hinder my experience with the phone, especially because it gives me a fiddling toy. To round things off here, I really enjoy my phone. Granted, it hasn't been a perfect experience, but it has been far better than my Samsung Galaxy J3e Merc. I do wish it was a little bit more durable and powerful, but the battery lasts all day and the performance is good enough for what I do. The camera is great considering the price, and the software experience isn't terrific or terrible, which is good depending how you look at it. It is enjoyable to use the Stylo 4, and it offers some high-end features like an edge-to-edge screen and decent quality on that screen at that, and a much more affordable price. However, I have not owned or used a flagship long-term in my life, so keep that in mind. My opinion here is a little bit skewed towards the budget phones. My last phone was budget as well. All things considered, the Stylo 4 is a great experience and does everything I need my phone to do. Maybe it's not the highest quality, but it gets everything I need done. That does it for the review, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it and that you found it helpful. If so, please leave a like down below and consider subscribing for more tech content. And also, if you've had any experiences with this phone, go ahead and comment down below. I'd like to see your guys' perspective on this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.